Big news from today's IRS hearing. IRS Commissioner John Koskinen confirming that investigators have found backup tapes in the Lois Lerner lost email probe.
The backup tapes may in fact exist.
I have no information as to whether there's anything usable on those tapes.
Why didn't you tell us the IRS had destroyed emails that belonged to Lois Lerner?
They were not destroyed as a conscious effort by the IRS.
If the folks like Lois Lerner and others would have spent more time working on the backlog and less time targeting groups, maybe morale would be better and maybe their backlogs would be less.
Not one piece of data could be recovered. Doesn't surprise you. The American people just have a hard time believing that, does it?
There was no secret that we were hiding.
And right after the oversight hearing, the IRS Commissioner talking directly to us on the record.
My commitment is I want people to be comfortable that the IRS is simply the tax administrator. We're not a political organization. We're not politically motivated. When they hear from us, it has only to do with tax matters. It has nothing to do with their background, their organization, their political beliefs. At this point, as I say, we're beginning to run out of documents to produce, but we'll continue to produce them as quickly as we can in response to the committee's requests. All the information I have is that the backup tapes from 3 years ago were recycled and don't exist. I do know the Inspector General, as came out in this hearing and earlier materials released by this committee, has looked at some tapes and is reviewing them. And to the extent that there's any information on them, that would be terrific. If they need outside help, I would never oppose that. Again, as I say, it's our interest. My sense is we produced 67,000 Lois Lerner emails. The vast majority of them aren't very interesting. We've got 24,000 that she sent during this period to other people. And so my sense is that it would be very good to know how many other emails there were. At this point, there's no indication that they would be really exciting, but it would be much better for everybody to know that.
And Representative Jim Jordan joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good to be with you.
If this weren't so serious, I'd be say who's on first, because it doesn't make any sense. Now the commissioner says that he doesn't know whether, he didn't know the backup tapes existed, and now he doesn't know if there's anything on them. What does he know, and where is this information?
Great question, because every time we interview someone else, we find out some new fact that contradicts what Mr. Koskinen has said under sworn testimony and under oath. Sworn testimony in front of the committee. Let me ask you,
is he lying or uninformed or confused or what?
Well, today he indicated that he didn't even talk to his chief counsel. Think about this. His chief counsel, Kate Duvall, knew in mid-February that Lois Lerner's email, her computer hard drive was unrecoverable. His chief counsel knew, and he says he didn't talk to her. And he didn't tell us. The IRS knew in February. They didn't tell us until June 13th of this year. 4 months. Uninformed and incompetent in his job, or deceitful? It's hard to say.
What are you leaning towards?
I think that he isn't being square with us. I really do. And
that's a polite way to say deceitful.
And I confronted him on that. I asked the commissioner, I said, if you knew in February, why didn't you tell us in February? Why didn't you tell us in April when you said you did know? Why did you wait all the way to June 13th? My theory is this. Judicial Watch does a FOIA request. They get an email from the Justice Department. They forward the Justice Department. They get an email from Richard Pilger, lawyer of justice, that shows he was talking with Lois Lerner in 2013. We bring Mr. Pilger in for a deposition.
2013, after she takes the fifth or before? Before she gets, okay.
Right before the Inspector General's report went public. So this is May of 2013 before.
Before the Inspector General's report?
Right before, actually days before. The email was 2 days before she went public. So we bring him in. We find out he not only talked to her then, he talked to her in 2010. We got an email exchange then.
About what in 2010? About targeting?
Yes, about the whole Citizens United case, about the very subject matter. So we subpoenaed Justice, and we said we want all correspondence between Justice and Lois Lerner. We get those emails. We then ask the IRS, why do we have to get this from Justice? Why didn't you guys provide them to us? Now here's the key fact. You always got to look at the timeline. I know you did this as well. That was June 9th when we sent that letter to the IRS. June 13th is when they disclosed to the world, hey, we lost Lois Lerner's emails, and they've been destroyed, and they're unrecoverable. So you knew in February, waited to June 13th. Why June 13th? Well, because we sent a letter on June 9th saying we got an email from the Justice Department that we didn't get from you.
Well, if the Justice Department, though, in 2010, before the Inspector General's report, if they are talking to Lois Lerner about targeting, the plot thickens very much. I mean, were they actually talking about targeting then?
It's worse than that, Greta. The IRS sent 1.1 million pages about C4 organizations, 21 disks of information. A small portion of that contained taxpayer-protected information, 6103, stuff you can't identify, about donors. They sent that to the FBI. That was in the FBI's possession for 4 years. So this coordination and collaboration went clear back to 2010. And once we had those emails and we confronted the IRS on it, suddenly 4 days later they tell the world, oh, you know what? We've lost Lois Lerner's email.
What is Commissioner Koskinen's goal, though, if he's to be deceitful? I mean, he's a new guy. I mean, he wasn't up to his eyeballs in this. Why in the world would he? I mean, if you think he's deceitful or not square with you, as you say, what could possibly be his motive? Because he has every motive to do just the opposite.
All I know is when we interviewed Tom Kane, one of the lawyers who's in charge of document production at the IRS, he now says it could be up to 20. Now, remember, there's 82 people who've been identified by the IRS who were involved in this targeting scandal. 82 identified. Up to 20 may, in fact, have had computer crashes. Now, what's the odds of 1/4 of the people who were under the part of the investigation having a computer crash? But that's what Tom Kane, the lawyer, the professional lawyer in charge of document production, said to our staff last Thursday.
Plot thickens. Thank